Okay, Tim, what are you playing through here?
This is a very special thing. It's a 1967 PA head, and I got this from Paul Reed Smith. Apparently, he had traded it back and forth with Eric Johnson for a while.
Nice.
And it sounds so amazing. Channel 2, it's got 4 channels. Channel 2 sounds amazing. And it's kind of like edible, the way it sounds. I mean, all you have to do is play with the volumes on the guitar and hear. You get every tone. What a beautiful clean tone, right? I mean, you can still hear every note. Turn the guitar down. I'm just in love with it. Now, the speakers I'm using right now, I have several 412s down there.
Okay.
And this particular 412, I'm using one vintage Celestion.
Okay.
Right? Okay, let me find the one. It's right here.
Yep, you've got these Neve, BAE, Neve style.
Yeah, Neve
mic
clones,
briefs.
which I love.
Yep,
and the
me too.
reason I like them is because the output, this is how I control the volume into Pro Tools. So these output knobs are not stepped. They're, you know, it's a smooth glide. So
Yep.
I use these for the actual input level. And I'm blending 2 microphones. So you'll be interested in this. This is a 1971 greenback, pre-roller greenback, okay?
Okay.
And it's blended with that speaker we were talking about, which is the 65 watt from 1978. And that's going through a C800 Sony, which is the modern version of the C37. It's not the C800 with the heatsink. This is a mic that is very hard to find. It wasn't popular. It's just a black microphone that sounds pretty hi-fi. So
Yes.
in lieu of using a Royer, which everybody uses, I'm using this Sony. It's on the high-fidelity speaker, getting a more hi-fi sound, a more kind of, 360 sound, and then the 57 is giving me the mid-range fist. Let's hear the 2 mics individually. Here is the 57.
It's given all the bite and
Exactly.
and the upper
The
mids.
C800 through the 65 watt. Good level. I mean, that by itself pleases me. But you can see when I blend in the 57, it becomes even better. Because you get a little of that mid-range fist. So let me get them both in. More is more. There we go. Well, now I'm peaking Pro Tools. Why is louder always better? It just sounds
Because it is.
Yeah, so, okay, so... Let me turn them down a little bit because I've kind of gone a little too far. I use the stock Pro Tools noise gate on everything. Yeah, here, let me put up the gate really quick. And lately I've been liking Echo Boy Jr. Because it just gives a little bit of a shadow. And the trick for me with delays is I roll all the top end off and I have a little modulation. So you barely notice it's there. It just makes the guitar have dimension and float a little. Okay, now at least I'm not peaking red, so that's good. I mean, you just bleed in as much distortion as you want. I mean, I go back to, the 60s with this thing. It just makes me so happy. Anyway, I've gone past the noise gate on this. And there are other amps that are quieter. That's one thing about a Plexi Marshall. The noise floor is loud.
I'd like to take a second to talk to you about this channel. This is actually Rick Beato 2. I've had it since the beginning of my main channel, and many of you are not subscribed. As a matter of fact, 87% of the people that watch this channel regularly are not subscribed. So I encourage you to hit the subscribe button on this channel and on my main channel. This will help me get even more of my dream guests and help continue to grow both channels. Thank you.
Let's talk about the Plexi that's right below this,
Yes.
Tim. What is that?
A 1968 Super Tremolo. A friend of mine owned this amp for 50 years, and he wanted me to buy it. This is a guy I used to play rock with and party with in the early 80s, a really dear old friend of mine. He moved up to Redding, California. For a long time, he actually managed Waylon Jennings' studio. Really nice musician. Anyway, he kept it for 50 years. I bought it from him last year.
Great condition.
Yeah, it's so cool, and I got the cabinets with it too. So it's a really wonderful thing and a meaningful meaningful thing. I mean,
Okay, Tim. So since we were talking about your amps, what are the other amps that are behind you? You don't talk about these things that often.
okay, this is my AC30 substitute.
Your
I've had
AC30.
AC30s.
Or is that no? Which one is that?
It's a matchless Clubman. My favorite matchless. It runs hotter than the others.
Yep.
And it's really simple. To me, it sounds like the ultimate AC30. This is a real one from the early days of matchless, Mark Sampson days.
Sampson, yeah.
Early days. They sound good today too. I know the Phil who runs Matchless. The new ones are faithfully good to this too. But this is an AC30. This is from an engineer friend of mine. This is a one-off from my friend Howard Willing. It's just a custom amp that I kind of fell in love with. Very, very high gain. The high watt, super big, super clean. Great for pedals. They're known as the ultimate pedal platform.
Yep.
Now this is an AC30, production model AC30 that sounds amazing.
It's a new one.
It's a new one. I recommend the stock AC30 head that you can buy anywhere if you want an AC30 head. It sounds great.
Now that's just a head, though, right?
That's just the head. Because I always liked separating the head so that I could get to the knobs quickly.
Yep.
Okay, now here is the amp I use most of the time. It's a divided by 13 RSA 23.
Okay.
Designed by Rusty Anderson, who plays with Paul McCartney. Rusty's an amazing guitar player. Very versatile session guitar player. A lot of people don't know that.
Okay.
He spent years designing this with Fred Tacone, and it's my favorite amp. RSA 23. It's like a cross between a Fender and a Vox and a Marshall. I mean, if I go do a session, I have one of these downstairs in the garage that goes in the trunk of my car, and that's what I take. I can get all my sounds with this RSA.
Okay, so what else do we have over here too, Tim?
We have the Park 45-100.
Yep.
And then the Bassman sounds
Basement that I
amazing.
cannot find, which
Yeah.
I've been looking for.
Someday you'll find.
Is it a 64 Bassman?
Yeah, the tuxedo
like that.
version.
Tuxedo.
It's just aesthetics. It was when they had some white knobs. They were making black amps and they had white knobs. So it's just an aesthetic thing I always wanted. Any 64 will sound that good, but then the Park, which we love.
We love the Park.
Parks. The 18 watt is great. Your blue 18 watt. Incredible.
I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, and then there's all the pedals. Some of them are not hooked up right now because I'm actually redoing my studio. But the pedals come and go. Different times, different purposes. One thing that I want you to see right here that I did get from Tom Bukovac's recommendation is the Ebo Reverb, and this thing, it sounds edible too. Let me turn it on for you.
Wow.
Now, the thing about reverb and delay that I want you to understand is that, to me, it's best when you don't know it's there. So whatever I'm doing sound-wise, you don't hear the delays. I hide the delays. And then the reverb, you don't hear it until I play my last note. Let me turn it down just a little bit so I can prove that point. But the idea is that for it to become part of the sound, and then I even try and hide the trails on delays so you don't hear them. Just adds this dimension to it. So you hear a little bit. So basically, it just makes the sound richer, Yeah, so anyway, we all owe Tom a debt for being so generous and sharing all of his discoveries. One of the things I like is I like to be sometimes the last guy to find the cool thing, because all the other guys figure out what the cool thing is. And they do all the work, and then sometimes it takes a few months, sometimes it takes a few years.
Well, that's why I just buy the stuff that you're playing in your videos, Tim.
Talking about. So never worry about waiting for something, because let these guys who are obsessed and great at finding this stuff, let them find the stuff. Now then, it might be hard to find it once it becomes popular, but anyway.